Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show tonight. I'm glad to have you guys here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the charts. I got some big new developments going on here tonight. We got a situation that's developed, and we'll get right to it. And right here, it's just happened. The United States has approved an arms sales deal to Taiwan. It says U.S. has said Taiwan needs to fortify itself against any attempts by China to isolate the island. Now, what the United States is going to sell them, well, let's get in here and take a look at it. China threatened on Thursday to retaliate against the latest U.S. arms sales to China, to the Chinese claimed Taiwan, as the island welcomes a weapons package, but said it was not looking to get into an arms race with Beijing. The Trump administration has ramped up support for Taiwan through arms sales and by visits of senior United States officials, adding to tensions between Beijing and Washington, already heightened by the disagreements over the South China Sea, Hong Kong, and the human rights and trade. Well, you know what? They got a trade war going on already. It's been going on for a while now, and it's been heightened to a peak, where it's like a Cold War going on. Nothing less than a Cold War between China and the United States right now. This trade war, and there's been increasing pressure on China, on Taiwan, and a lot of it's over China doesn't recognize Taiwan. They don't recognize their sovereignty, and they've been flying fighter jets across the sensitive midline of the Taiwan Strait, which normally serves as a buffer between the two countries. This is a huge increase in tensions in the region. This is huge. And the reason why some of these missiles that the United States is going to sell Taiwan are cruise missiles, and they can actually make it to the mainland China as an offensive weapon, as an offensive weapon system, rather than even a defensive weapon system. And so what this reminds me of, guys, is going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know, if we take a look back at the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we'll read a little bit of this here, it says, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a tense 13-day political and military standoff in October of 1962 over the installation of nuclear-armed Soviet missiles on Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States' shores. In a TV address on October 22, 1962, President John F. Kennedy noted he noted the presence of these missiles, explaining his decision to enact a naval blockade around Cuba, and made it clear that the U.S. was preparing to use military force, if necessary, to neutralize this perceived threat to national security. Following this news, many people feared the world was on the brink of nuclear war. However, the disaster was avoided when the United States agreed with Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev to offer to remove the Cuban missiles in exchange for the U.S. promising not to invade Cuba. Kennedy was also secretly agreed to move U.S. missiles from Turkey. So, the United States removed their missiles from Turkey, and the Russians removed their missiles from Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was a heightened tension during the Cold War. Well, you know, the Cold War's back on again. And this time it's not between Russia and the United States, it's between China and the United States. And it's come about because of this trade war that's been going on for a while now, you know. Let's click a little bit forward here and see what we can find. On this subject matter, the screen is loading. Let's see.
Important security message.
I hate these guys that are on here trying to put malicious software.
Important security message.
Anyway, Here's the thing. The Cuban Missile Crisis was an escalation in tensions between China, not China, but an escalation in tensions between the United States and Russia at the time, during the Cold War. This reminds me of that same kind of a situation, where there's a build-up of tensions because the United States is placing missiles they're going to place missiles in Taiwan through this arms deal. Well, they're selling the missiles to Taiwan. But it's the same thing. Those missiles would be placed in Taiwan, and they can reach the Chinese mainland, which is similar to what Cuba was when those missiles were placed in Cuba, which could reach the United States' mainland. This is big, and one of the reasons why this is so big is the very fact that these Chinese cities, it takes missiles time to move across. If you get a missile that's moving at hypersonic speed, it still takes it time. It has a certain amount of time it takes to get to a target area, And, of course, because Taiwan is so close to mainland China, the missiles wouldn't take very long to reach Chinese cities. And this was the same concept or same idea during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that the missiles placed in Cuba would not take very long, time-wise, to reach American cities. And this is what upset America so bad that during the Cold War that we were worried that it was going to be an escalation. Well, the thing about this is, I have worries that there could be an escalation. I listened to the Chinese, what they had to say, and there are very stern warnings about this, is what's happening right now. The Chinese are extremely upset right now about this situation. Angered isn't the word for it. They're not even hardly talking, but they made a statement. And the statement was very exact and to the point. So, when they say China is angered by the United States arms sales to Taiwan, it goes beyond angry. Well, you just imagine to yourself, Say China, China and say Cuba decided to put Chinese missiles aimed at the United States and Cuba right now, cruise missiles. I mean, how would that go over with the United States right now if China was going to sell Cuba a bunch of cruise missiles that they could aim at the United States? Would that go over good? I don't think so. So this is the same kind of a situation that's going on right now, see? And this is really up the ante. Now, if you go back a while ago, the Court of The Hague made a decision on the islands that China has been working on in the South China Sea. Now, what they've been doing is they've been dredging areas where there used to be shoals in the South China Sea, and they've sent dredgers out there which pump the sand up. They pumped the sand up and they made islands where there weren't islands before. So, they made a ruling at the Court of The Hague that those islands, basically, that America and the Allied countries have what's called freedom of navigation through that area. China has claimed those new islands as their own territory. There's very high escalating tensions in that particular region. And the United States continues to sail close to those islands. They're called the Spratly Islands. So there's been tension there for quite a while now. This is a major escalation in that tension in the region. And during a major escalation of tensions in this particular region, in around the South China Sea, from the way it was, say, a week ago, before this arms sale, now the tensions have heightened. And so we're going to have to watch what happens with all of this, but my tendency is to think that the Chinese are really not going to want to allow these missiles to be stationed in Taiwan. Of course, all these things progress, and they have a certain time frame that they play themselves out at. It's going to take a while before those missiles get positioned in Taiwan. And so this is the first round of this, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens if these tensions escalate or de-escalate in this particular region. Listen, thank you guys for listening to my show. I wanted to bring you guys up to date tonight on what's going on and why this is important, what just happened in Taiwan and the U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.